Hello everybody and welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a chaotic week for the Philadelphia Eagles and I was going to spend my evening grinding through some film for a film room special this weekend. That was until the team decided to announce what they're going to do with DeSean Jackson. It's been a decision that has been up in the air all week long ever since the 33-year-old wide receiver posted some anti-Semitic content on his Instagram over July 4th weekend. We knew the Eagles were going to take action, but would it come the way of a fine, a suspension, or maybe even cutting him altogether? There could be arguments made for all three, but by Friday, we now know what the team will do with DeSean Jackson. And in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what that means for the team, for DeSean Jackson, and just give some general opinions on the events that have transpired. As always, if you're new around the channel and you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you leave a like. I promise there is so much more on the horizon, including film breakdowns and some surprise content along the way. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't yet subscribed, it'd be really cool to have you along for the ride. But let's get into today's content. Just a brief summary if you've missed any of what's happened with DeSean Jackson. The Eagles receiver over 4th of July weekend decided to post some very questionable content. The first one was an image of the Nation of Islam leader, a well-known anti-Semite as well, and if that wasn't bad enough, he then followed it up with a quote that is falsely linked to Adolf Hitler that basically states that the Jewish race planned to extort America. It uses racial slurs. Again, I'm not going to put it on the video or read it out for that very reason, but it's just not a good look. And if it couldn't get any worse, Jackson then reposts the same image with an apology, saying he didn't mean to offend anyone. So scribbles out Hitler, the bit underneath it, and you're left with nothing but the most anti-Semitic part of that statement. It was an embarrassing look for DeSean Jackson, one that no man of his age should make. You're 33 years old. I know for a fact that that kind of history on the Holocaust and World War II is taught in the majority of schools. And as someone that is college educated, that was able to graduate from Cal, you'd like to assume he has that basic fundamental knowledge, but we have to assume positive intent. And I think that Jackson was trying to continue the fight against social injustice, to continue against inequality in America, and perhaps that moral compass was misguided and he didn't really realize what he was posting, although anything with the name Hitler in should automatically be a no-go. And again, I said this in the video earlier this week, Adolf Hitler could say fly Eagles fly, you don't post it, it's that simple. So the Eagles were left with a tricky situation. Do they cut him, do they not? My personal take was that they absolutely shouldn't, and that they did pursue the best route, which was to educate him, which was to put him in situations where he can understand why those actions deserve those consequences, arguably. Jackson then apologized to both Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, which is of course very important. If it couldn't get any worse for DeSean Jackson, it turns out that Jeffrey Lurie's film company, Play Action Films, was actually about to publish its first project, a film called The Meaning of Hitler. It's a bad time to do this, D-Jax. A really bad time. Also then speak to Rabbi Doniel Grunitzky, the leader of Chabad Young Philly, which is a Jewish organization. With teammates coming to his aid as well and offering support, we heard Carson Wentz reach out to him to try and understand things from his perspective. It was clear that, as they should do, the Eagles were taking this very seriously. Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman decided to offer to take DeSean Jackson to a Holocaust museum to help him understand the atrocities that the race faced during World War II. And then said that, hey, if I can show you this history, then please show me yours and help me understand some of the problems that you're going through. And that was really big for me. Like, I didn't expect that to come from Julian Edelman. I love the sentiment. It's something that I think we can all do better at in trying to understand each other's cultures, each other's struggles, and understand what we have to do to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. Jackson was also then scheduled to meet with a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor, which must be one of the most surreal experiences imaginable. Like, I couldn't even imagine where to start with something that delicate, with something where it's so raw. It doesn't get much more real than that, and that may be what DeSean Jackson needed if he was totally oblivious to those happenings, or maybe wasn't fully informed about them. And he also met with an anti-Semitic organization, if that makes sense, so a team that is obviously anti-hatred to the Jewish race. It was clear that Jackson is working hard to rectify his errors and to at least maybe empower himself with knowledge to make sure he can pass that on to younger players. That didn't stop the Eagles from making a statement on Friday though, which I'll put up on screen here for you guys to read. The main points though are that they have penalized DeSean Jackson. So DeSean Jackson has been fined for those actions for conduct detrimental to the team. Absolutely bang on, as he should be. I would argue it should be a suspension as well, because I mean, money at that point to DeSean Jackson isn't the end of the world. He's 33, he's made plenty of it in his NFL career. I personally feel a suspension would hit him harder, or you take away something which I would like to assume he values more than the financial side of it. What really stands out though is that it says he understands that to remain on this team. That bit in particular states that the Eagles have sat down and said, if you want to be part of this organization, if you want to be a Philadelphia Eagle, these are the actions you must do. Your words are no longer good enough. Apologies don't cut it. Half-ass apologizing and saying you shouldn't have took it that bad isn't good enough. You've got to go out with your actions and be more proactive. Like, be the change you want to see. If you want to help that battle against social injustice, if you want to help build equality, understand the wider picture of it. Go and understand before just posting on social media without being fully informed. That's a big move from the Philadelphia Eagles to essentially threaten to cut him if he doesn't. What that's saying is, if you want to be an Eagle, do this. If not, you know where the door is. That's a hard thing to do for a team owner, for a general manager to sit down and say, you know where the door is. If you're not going to abide by our rules and our mantras and our policies and our moral compass, you know where the door is. I like that. It shows that they've at least explored the option of cutting DeSean Jackson, and this move did warrant, in my opinion, the action being taken. I didn't agree with it, but if the team did cut DeSean Jackson, I wouldn't have been shocked. I wouldn't have been distraught. I wouldn't have been upset. I'd have been understanding and a little bit passively sad, but that's about it, because I fully understand the severity of those actions. So the fact the Eagles actually discussed with Jackson that is a realistic possibility, it's a good sign that there is a concrete plan for Jackson to go out and learn more about this situation, what happened to the Jewish race during World War II, the troubles that they still face today, and to at least try and make this right. Now, nothing will ever, I assume, win a lot of people who are hurt over this over. Like, I couldn't imagine what it feels like to have someone you idolise be so ignorant, so belligerent to a race that you're part of, to be so blatantly passive of the atrocities that you faced and that your ancestors faced. I couldn't imagine that. So I understand why people would want to see him cut or want to see more action taken, but that wouldn't solve it. That wouldn't help stop that happening again. Now, it's like, you know, if a kid does something wrong and you just shout at them and send them to bed, they understand it's wrong. They don't know why. It doesn't help them learn. They can't build and grow from that. And at this point in society, where that really does have to be the galvanization of us all, like to bring us all together so we all help, we all heal, we all say this is enough, this isn't acceptable, we need to move on from this, and this is how we need to be as a generation. The Eagles have done the right thing. They've kept him on the team, what feels like a very, very thin tightrope, and said, one more step wrong, you're gone. I agree with it. I understand the motive, and I think that Jackson going and meeting with these anti-Semitic groups, meeting with the 94-year-old Holocaust survivor, with the guys from Shabbat Young Philly, and maybe even if he takes up Julian Edelman's offer, it shows more than enough desire to at least learn, to educate himself, to empower himself, to make sure this doesn't happen again, and that he can be a positive voice moving forward. But what do you think, guys, about this situation? Were the Eagles right to keep DeSean Jackson? Let me know in the comments. From myself, Liam Jenkins, thank you so much for watching this video. There will be film content coming. I know this week has been slow. We had the MLS stream yesterday. We've had some very DeSean Jackson related content this week. Been a bit of a blur, I can't lie. This week has been a little bit topsy-turvy, but thank you for sticking with us. We'll see you again soon.